Hi, Netherwood Park kids. This is Miss Kathy. I'm very thankful to be helping. I'm thankful that Miss Kayla and Miss Stephanie and Miss Nikki have um, worked so hard to bring you the lessons each week. And today we're going to talk about baby Moses. But before we get started with our Bible lesson, I wanted to ask you a couple questions about some ways that your parents and your family protect you and keep you safe. So what are some ways that your parents and family keep you safe? Maybe having you wear your seatbelt in the car, bicycle helmet when you're out riding your bike, things like that. They would do anything to protect you, right? I think about I have a great niece. Her name is Charlie. She's adorable. She's 8 months old. And so she is into that phase now where she's getting into stuff. And so you have to be really careful to make sure that she's not pulling something down or getting into something that she shouldn't. You know, the love and the protection that parents have for their children is just so great. It's so hard to explain. And, our Bible story is going to talk about that today. I know that whenever you think of baby Moses, you don't always think about the family and what they went through to protect him. And just a little review. In previous weeks, you talked about Joseph, right? And how he, the lesson from last week, he was with Pharaoh. And Joseph had invited his family to come and live with him in Egypt. Okay, so where we start today, 400 years had passed, a long time. There's a new Pharaoh. Memories of Joseph and all that happened then were long gone. And this new Pharaoh, he didn't like the Israelites. In fact, he was starting to become very concerned about their numbers. There were a lot of them. And he was afraid of what they might do if an enemy came to attack. He was afraid that the Israelites might join their side. Let's read just a little bit. When the new Pharaoh came to power in Egypt, Joseph didn't mean anything to him. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites are far too many for us. Come, we must deal with them carefully. Then if war breaks out, they'll join our enemies. They'll fight against us and leave the country. So Pharaoh was pretty nervous. And so he met with his leaders. He came up with a plan to make the Israelites weak. He thought, let's make them slaves, right? So they made the Israelites slaves, and they didn't get paid for their work. They had to do hard work. They had to haul heavy stones and make bricks and build these huge buildings and lots of hard work. But guess what? His plan didn't really work. Even though it was very hard on the Israelites, the Israelites kept growing in number. And more babies were being born. And so his plan didn't work. But guess what? He decided to come up with another plan. All right, so let's read a little bit more. Then Pharaoh gave an order to all his people. He said, you must throw every Israelite baby boy into the Nile River. Wow, that's a terrible new law. He saw that it wasn't working just by making the men slaves. He saw that that wasn't controlling the numbers, and that the Israelites continued to just keep growing and growing. And so he made this new law. There was a couple. Their names were Jochebed and Amram. They already had 2 kids, and and their names were Miriam and Aaron. So it probably sounds familiar. They had a baby boy, baby Moses. And so this time that they had baby Moses, they decided they weren't going to throw him into the river. They wanted to do everything they could to protect him. This mom and dad did some pretty crazy stuff to protect their baby boy because, if they got caught, they would have been in big trouble. So what they did was, for a while after he was born, they kept it a secret. And you can read further in chapter 2 about this. But they kept it a secret for a while. But any of you that have been around babies, maybe you have a baby brother or sister or someone that you're around, babies aren't real quiet. So it got to a point where they had to do something else. Let's read some more. After that, she couldn't hide him any longer. So she made a basket out of the stems of tall grass. She coated the basket with tar and placed the baby in the basket. Then she put it in the tall grass that grew along the banks of the Nile River. How many of you think this would be a good way to keep a baby safe? It's kind of scary to think about, isn't it? But Jochebed, Moses' mom, she trusted God, and she believed that this was the best thing for her to do to keep her baby safe. Miriam, the big sister, she went down to the river to watch, and she just wanted to make sure that baby Moses was going to be okay. Maybe she thought no one would find baby Moses. But guess what? Of all the people to find baby Moses, guess who found baby Moses? The daughter of Pharaoh. And she heard the baby cry, or she saw the basket and asked one of her servants to go down and get the basket. And they discovered the baby. Baby Moses was crying, and she wanted to keep the baby. So Pharaoh's daughter took the baby, adopted baby Moses as her own son. So God helped Moses' family make the right decisions on how to best take care of him. And even though Pharaoh had all kinds of plans to hurt God's people, God knew that someday Moses would be a great leader, that he would do great things through Moses. And even though there was danger everywhere, Moses grew up safely in the very place that Pharaoh lived, in the very place of the leader who wanted to get rid of the Israelites. And so that's the story of baby Moses, and how he was protected and loved by his family. So stay tuned, because in the weeks to come, you're going to be learning a lot more about Moses and his life, and how God used him to be a great leader to help his people. But we're going to do a craft next. Okay, guys, now we're going to do a craft activity. Okay, what you're going to need for this is a paper plate, piece of paper, hole punch, pencil and scissors, and string. It can be either yarn or ribbon or any other kind. You don't need both, just something that you can use to do a lacing activity. You're going to get your paper, fold it in half, like that, and then you're going to draw a heart, half a heart. And when we cut this half of a heart out, it's going to be a pattern for us, okay? So take a minute to do that. You're going to just draw a fairly large heart. I'm going to make mine a little bit darker, just in case you can't see it very well. There's your half heart, okay? Then you're going to cut that out, okay? And just be sure you don't cut the part that's folded in the middle. Okay, after you cut it, it's going to look like that. Grab your paper plate, lay your pattern down, okay, trace around it. I've already done it on here. I'm making it just a little bit darker so you can see. It's kind of tricky on the bumpy edges, but just do your best. All right, then you're going to cut that out, okay? So just cut around like that. You're going to end up with a heart plate, a heart out of your plate. Then you're going to use the hole puncher. I've already punched 3 holes there, and you can see about how I spaced them. I'll get a little bit closer. Don't get too close to the edge because you don't want it tearing, but about that far apart. And you're going to go all the way around the plate to where it looks like that. Now we're going to lace our plate. Let's start at the top. Oh, I didn't mention. Cut a pretty long piece of string. You can always snip the end off of what you don't need. So it's better to be longer than shorter on the string. And then just start at the very top and tie that string, ribbon, yarn, whatever you're using, into a knot. Okay? I'll show you. Like that. We're just going to start lacing away. Okay? And you're going to go up and then back down, up and back down, like that. Your lines are going to look like that. And this will take you a little bit of time, but I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, I think I'm finished. Yours might be fuller than mine. I wish I could see yours. But when you get done, there's going to be a string that you can either tie to the back, or I'm just going to tape mine down a little bit easier, like that. And there is your heart craft. I hope that it reminds you of our story about Moses, baby Moses, and the love and the protection that his family gave to him. And also, I hope that it reminds you too of the love and the protection that your own families give to you. We're going to be talking about Moses a few more weeks, so be ready for that next week. And until we get to see you again, we'll see you on here. Hope you have a great day, and God bless you and your family.